Hi there. Welcome to Confidence Stories. This is all about people who've been there, who've done that, who know how it feels like to not feel confident, who have built it, who've maybe been set back over the course of their lives. And here's their experience, how it feels like, the tips, the tricks. It's about getting started. It's about why it's so worth it to hang in there, to build your confidence. And I'm sure there's going to be something for anybody to pick out from. It might be different for different people, but I hope you enjoy. Let us know what you think and what we should cover next time.
There's a lot of coaches, but not necessarily a lot of good coaches or let alone affordable coaches. So we want to bring a technique that's really, really effective, really empowering, really strength-based to a population that's not accessing it right now. Surprisingly, I didn't know what coaching was until I actually started it, which builds on the fact that it really isn't an accessible tool. Let me ask you a few questions about confidence, if that's okay. So what does confidence mean to you?
I think in a nutshell, confidence for me is like belief in oneself.
What's the difference? How does it feel differently, when you're low in confidence and high in confidence?
That's a great question. I've never thought of it like that. Like I don't know how to put it into words, right?
That's fine.
Because I'm confident. Like, there's just a difference, but I've never put it into other words before.
Yeah.
So let me see. Strength, it comes to mind. Like you feel stronger, right? And the believing in yourself is a big piece, which gives me confidence, which gives me I feel stronger. I feel powerful. I feel better equipped and more able to do things.
Have you ever lacked confidence or had particular moments in your life where you felt that your confidence got knocked back significantly? And what happened, if you don't mind sharing?
So yes, very much so. And I actually don't know what happened. I've actually asked that question to myself. So I can remember early on in my adult life, my 20s and my 30s, I can remember maybe up to my mid 30s, I was very confident. This is when I had gone to college. This is when I was still working for other people. I was actually kind of well known in my area of where I worked, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I was very respected and had a lot of confidence in myself. And then my mid 30s, I can tell you it was 2001. I went back to school and got my master's in counseling. Did that. Great. Got my first jobs after that, and then realized pretty quickly that this is not what I wanted to be doing.
Yeah.
And so I had only done it for a handful of years, and then I quit and started my own business. So it's been some time in that time frame that my confidence got knocked way down. I don't know exactly. Maybe it's a combination of all these things. I don't know exactly. I don't think it's probably one thing. Of course, starting something brand new, right? I also moved across the country. I didn't know anybody out here either. I mean, I was dating somebody that I met online that lived out here, but that was it. So anyway, all those things layered on top of each other, I think is what obviously made me lose my confidence over the years. And I'm sure it was just such a gradual thing that I didn't even realize it was happening until all of a sudden, I was like, what the hell? All of a sudden it hit me.
No, and that leads to the next question. What helped you build it back, if you feel you've built it back?
So yes, I have very much built it back. Would I say it's 100% yet? No, but it's, oh my gosh, it's night and day as to where it was for sure. And so I think what I'm going to say is part of your next question, which is, what I've done, right? What's helped me to build it back. It's a lot of self-healing work, and which I am not afraid to do. That's the kind of person that I am.
What does it include for you, if you don't mind sharing? What is self-healing? What would you have, what is your comfort, the stuff
Absolutely.
You would do for comfort?
There's a few things I'm going to share. The first thing I'm going to share is that I'm actually transgender. And so when I realized that about myself, because I realized it late in life, that in and of itself, going through that process and realizing that about myself, that takes a lot of courage and determination and confidence and all of that stuff, right? And so that process, although not easy, was huge for me in several ways. First of all, really getting in touch with who I really am, right? That starts to build your confidence. That alone starts to build your confidence, right? So it was really a tricky place for the first few years of my transition, for sure. And then another thing that happened around the same time of my transition is I also knew, because I'm a healer, and have this counseling background and all this stuff, I also knew, I was like, wow, I need to build my own self-love back up. Even right before I started transitioning, I started putting myself through this like practice of building self-love.
Yeah.
And what I did really briefly is, the number one relationship we have is with ourselves.
Yeah.
This is perfect. And so I started asking myself that question.
Oh, yeah.
And instead of how may I best love you today, not even instead of, I would ask that, but also in addition to that question, whenever I was feeling like a lack of confidence, or I was feeling like a lack of belonging, or any of some of my trauma or triggers or things like that, I would pause and I would ask myself, Jaiden, how may I best love you in this moment? And then I would actually listen, right? Like, I would listen to the response, to the answer, and I would actually listen by doing whatever it was I heard. So sometimes it was sit here and meditate, hold yourself, read, rest, whatever it was, right? And so that's how I started to build my own self-love, because it's like
That's
that
awesome.
place of, we don't listen to ourselves. We don't listen to our body. We don't listen to ourselves. And so how can we trust and know and feel love even from ourselves if we're not listening to ourselves, right? So that was like my step one. I did that. Yeah. And even now, it doesn't happen very much anymore, but even now, once in a while, I ask myself that question. So there's that. And then there's the transitioning. And then the most recent thing, and I'm sure there's lots of things along the way that I'm not remembering in this moment, but the most recent, biggest one for me was stepping away from people that don't treat me well, right? Or don't treat me in the way that I deserve to be treated.
I know you've talked a little bit, I mean, you didn't call it that way, but certainly there were light bulb moments on the way. But what, and certainly your transition, I would have thought it's a key light bulb moment. Oh, like, I don't belong in, I'm, there is something different here going on, and that's not right. So, but is there other sort of light bulb moments you had along the way that really changed course for you? You would say?
Yeah. I think the other big light bulb moment for me was, it's not healthy for us to continue to be around people that treat us poorly. You can't heal with people that instilled the trauma. And so I had to somehow step away a bit. And I knew it wasn't forever. Like I said, if they reached out or whatever, I talked to them.
It wasn't a complete cut necessarily. It was just setting boundaries, isn't it?
Yep. So that I could do my own healing work for a bit.
Yeah. I know you touched on it a little bit as you started to try and describe the feeling of being confident, but what sort of difference do you think how would you talk about the difference confidence makes to your life?
That it just helps me to do, the things I'm passionate about, right? Like if I didn't build my confidence back up, I would not be doing the work that I'm doing right now. Right. Because it's been so instilled in our minds. I'll just speak for myself. So instilled in my mind, right? Like that it's all about money. But that's not the most important thing to me. You know what I'm saying? And so, so it's having the confidence to step into who I really am. This is who I really am. You know what I mean? Like, I care about people. I care about this earth like nobody's business. I care about animals like nobody's business. Like, like this is who I am, and I'm going to step into that.
And the last question for you is, what would you recommend to others who are struggling with their confidence? Either they don't know what it is, maybe they've always been low in confidence, or they've just recently gone through a big event in their life as well. Like, what would be your recommendations to them?
To pause. Pause and get present to, like, really sit with and be with themselves around, like, who they are and what they want in life. And then, of course, the self-love has got to be mixed in there, right? Because if you don't have any of that, you're not going to build confidence, in my opinion. You got to know who you are, what you want, and go for that, right? Like, do those things. It doesn't matter what anybody else thinks or wants from you or what have you. And some of that, you have to have self-love to be able to do that, I think.
That's so beautiful. Honestly, like it's my favorite thing. Like, you know, what you said, how can I love you today? Or how can I love myself
How may I
today?
best love you today?
Oh, how I best love you. Exactly. That was the wording.
And
Yeah.
by the way, I actually ask that of my friends sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's really beautiful.
How may I best love you today?
Oh, no, honestly, like the world is so deprived now of those sorts of things. Like we've gone into sort of a not a generation even, but a time of, you know, quite superficial relationships. I'm fortunate that I have very dear friends, and you know, they're there when you need them, like, you know, you would hope friendship to be. But there are many people I see, and they're surrounded by meaningless friendships, dare I say, and they wake up one day realizing that none of them is there for them when it comes to it, and that's so sad.
Yep.
So yeah, no, I love that.